While libtards and Democrats continue to jerk themselves off to calling MAGA supporters threats to democracy, this is the reality that's going on. And it's a reality that's now reaching rich areas and rich people more and more, with the stabbing of 77-year-old woman who was stabbed to death by a criminal who goes by the name of Antonio Brown. I know people had some confusion. Was it the NFL player? No, it was just some young little Negro, 23 years old, who was robbing a woman at the woman's own home garage, and she had the misfortune to confronting this human filth. And as a result of confronting him, he stabbed her to death. And the person who found her was her son, who was visiting her for the holidays. Now, again, this is in light of another situation where a liberal woman from a wealthy family got killed, Eliza Fletcher. She was kidnapped while jogging. And then it was later found out she was murdered. That happened in Memphis. And then we have Jacqueline Avant, another liberal woman who, in fact, was the mother-in-law of the CEO at Netflix, Ted Sarandos. She got killed due to a home invasion. And then going back to Atlanta, because that's where this stabbing took place with Antonio Brown, stabbing this woman to death. In Atlanta, there's been a number of burglaries of Atlanta celebrities. And there's been one game specifically that's been titled as being held responsible for it. A gang called themselves the Drug Rich Gang, which doesn't sound like a gang full of Klansmen or MAGA supporters to me. But again, this is just yet another example highlighting, by the way, the judicial system is utter shit that enables criminal activity like this. And again, we see who the primary culprits are responsible for this sort of activity. It's young black males, teenage, 20-somethings, and 30-somethings. And to not highlight that fact out of some retarded notion of racial solidarity just shows you how great of a fool that you are. Because this soulless bastard that stabbed this woman to death would show no hesitation in stabbing to death a grandma, a mother who was so-called black. And again, we have evidence of that with the countless crimes that has happened against so-called black females. In fact, they are within the highest category of who suffer from homicides or who get murdered. And it's black males within this age range killing them. But again, celebrate Herschel Walker's defeat. You're elected another Democrat. Yippee for you. But as a result, you're not seeing any resolutions to this crime issue with this particular demographic of young black males from teenage years into their 30s. Another instance, you had a 91-year-old civil rights activist. They tried to stab her to death. And oddly enough, they haven't found the person responsible. But when they thought they found the person, the image that the Boston police released was a person of interest that wasn't so-called white. It was some young black dude. Now, they found out that he wasn't the guilty party, but the fact is the description had to be a black male or else he wouldn't have been a suspect. And again, that's a 91-year-old civil rights activist, which again just goes to show you, you're not, showing any allegiance or loyalty to any so-called group. If anything, you're just enabling more people to be victimized and to be murdered like this woman was in her own damn driveway. And again, they'll send their remorse and all that other lame bullshit that these people do, but they won't address the situation. They won't talk about a particular demographic the way they would if it was somebody so-called white. Just, look at the Buffalo situation, the Buffalo mass shooting. I mean, they just couldn't wait to talk about, white supremacy and white racism being responsible for that. And again, and a lot of these people who, in these particular stories that I'm highlighting, a lot of them, if not all of them, are liberal people, and their families are more than likely liberal as well. And, again, this is the result when you don't address the criminal situation and actually punish crime and punish criminals specifically, instead of trying to scapegoat it on some bullshit narrative, blaming slavery, blaming poverty, blaming any and anyone else but the person that actually committed the crime and the people who may have actually influenced this person. Because, you find out more often than not, these people come from crappy backgrounds, full of crappy people encouraging crappy behavior. And unfortunately, it's not just crap behavior coming from their home or the neighborhood. It's crap behavior that's being promoted and encouraged through the media and liberal politicians that openly side and sympathize with the criminal. And again, if anything's actually going to happen with any of this, then these sort of crimes are going to have to hit these rich areas more and more, because it's probably the only time they'll actually respond to this. Because again, this woman who was stabbed to death, she was stabbed to death in a gated community. So this was a rich area where this woman was killed. And I already talked about the burglaries in Atlanta targeting celebrities like Mariah Carey. I mean, there's also a story where an owner of a so-called black brewery was shot and robbed. So again, everybody is getting hurt by this demographic of young black males, teenage to 30-somethings. But again, the suburbanites are woke and liberal as hell in these gated communities. And we know generally black people are always making an excuse for these criminals. And so this is why the Antonio Browns of the world are, roaming free on the streets, committing the crimes like they are. But again, this will be a situation temporarily reacted to, and it'll just go untalked about because the people within the media and, quite frankly, the idiots that live in these cities just simply don't care about the danger that exists in this society due to their woke-targeted politics. But anyway, R.I.P. to the poor woman. I truly hope she wasn't an enabler of the criminal activity that she unfortunately experienced and ended her life.